And welcome in again to another edition of Washed Up, your mother's favorite sports show. I'm JD Pacella alongside the man, the myth, the legend. He needs no introduction. We're going to give him one anyway. He is a golf national champion. He has given a public address or two, snapped for the USC Trojans. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake Olson. Jake, how are you doing, big dog, in this wonderful thing that we call bowl season?
I'm doing great, JD. Good to be back here talking about two more bowls. New Year's Six bowls, some big bowls, JD. We got some great matchups here to talk about, and we're going to get right into it as we come along in this 2020 bowl season. The first bowl we got up, JD, down in the desert, the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. We got Iowa State coming from the north, not too far south from them. Oregon representing the Pac-12. I'm not going to go as far to call them champions, but that's a different topic for a different sports show, I guess, JD.
Sure. To each his own. To each his own.
Anyways, JD, Iowa State -4.5 here. This is going to be on January 2nd at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Interesting game. Oregon, not really sure what to make of them. Iowa State, on the other hand, looks pretty good, JD. What do you see here?
Yeah, when I look at Iowa State, I think it really depends on, even more so than other teams, their quarterback play. Brock Purdy is a guy that started the year, and it was like, oh, Brock Purdy's a first-round draft pick, can't-miss guy. And he goes on and has a season where he throws 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. A little bit underwhelming for a lot of people's taste, Jake. So this game really depends on which Brock Purdy shows up. Is it going to be Purdy or is it going to be not so Purdy? Remains to be seen. Breece Hall, though, he has the luxury of having the best running back in the country behind him. Sophomore, over 1,400-yard rushing, I believe it is. He's leading the country. He is the bell cow for this offense, and as he goes, so will this offense. So for Iowa State, establish the run early and let Breece Hall get stronger as the game goes on. You don't really want to get into a shootout with this Oregon team. If they can control the tempo of this game, I think Iowa State is really dangerous in this game, Jake.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, as we're talking about this game, JD, Oregon is not so good at stopping the run.
Yeah, I think 160 yards, give or take, is what they're giving up right now. That's tough when you play a guy like Breece Hall, who, again, just gets stronger as the game goes on. And you've seen it in different games. They continue to force feed him the football and allow him to get into a rhythm. I compare it to a shooter in basketball. The more you get into a rhythm, the more threes you make, like Steph Curry, that basket looks bigger and bigger. The same with a running back. Those holes start to widen even more as the game wears on. So for Breece Hall, getting him into a rhythm will be crucial and allow the rest of the offense to open up. If you can get those safeties to creep up and key on Breece Hall, that'll allow Brock Purdy's job to be much easier distributing the ball with the weapons they have downfield, Jake.
I agree, and JD, I wasn't too impressed with Oregon this year. I know they beat up on my Trojans in the Pac-12 championship game. Kind of showed up with a little bit of a Christmas surprise there under the 3 and a 2 QB systems, going to Anthony Brown on some of those kind of wildcat RPO plays. It was very interesting to see. I think the problem that we had with USC is that they finally matched, USC did, a team that was just as good as them athletically, and they couldn't play outside of their, I guess, pitfalls that have been kind of hurting them all season long. And so Oregon goes into this game against Iowa State, JD, with a lot of athletes. We saw how athletic they were against USC and how that was too much for the Trojans to handle. Is that going to be a factor against the Iowa State team that I know they're in the Big 12, but let's be frank here, Oregon does seem to have most years the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a great point. One thing that Iowa State has going for them defensively, they have a pretty decent team speed, some of the better team speed in the Big 12 defensively, I would say. They play a 3-3-5 defense, which in layman's terms, essentially, it allows you to keep most of the plays in front of you. Their big thing is don't get beat deep, rally to the football, and they do that extremely well. So if they can avoid the big play and keeping those athletes from Oregon to take the top off the defense, I think they should be okay and be able to contain this Oregon offense fairly simply. Now, I want to ask you this question. You mentioned it. A little bit of an asterisk next to the Pac-12 title game. We're not going to get into that too much. But do you anticipate that two-quarterback system, that wrinkle that Oregon showed in that game, do you think that will be something they continue to do, or is that a one-game, one-trick pony for this Oregon team? They just brought it out against USC. Now they're going to take it back into the into the bag of tricks, or what are you thinking here?
It proved effective against USC. I have to imagine they probably aren't going to fix it if it ain't broke. So
well said.
I do think they use some of it here in the Fiesta Bowl, JD, but I'm with you. I do like Iowa State here, -4.5. I think we're in agreement. We're both taking them.
Man, I'm taking them. Taking the Cyclones, baby. They're rolling.
Cyclones. All right. Purdy. Cyclones in the desert. More like a sandstorm, probably, if that would ever occur. But the next game we are going to be talking about is on the opposite south side of the country, down in Florida. We got the Capital One Orange Bowl again on January 2nd. This is the night game, 8 Eastern, JD, where we got a little ACC SEC action. North Carolina playing Texas A&M. And JD, I know where we're going to take this one, because you and I, last year as a true freshman, were on Sam Howell so much we howled his praises all bowl season long, and that paid off our Christmas presents last year.
I think you said it very, very well right there. If we were to take a drug test, we would test positive for Sam Howell. That's how high on him we were. But I think I think we're going to continue to ride that train, if I'm not mistaken, Jake, in this game. I think we both kind of think A&M's a little bit overrated coming into this game. I know they feel like they were snubbed. They should have been in the playoff, yada, yada, yada. But here's what it comes down to. Kellen Mond, he's only thrown for over 300 yards twice this season. I think he's getting probably more credit than he deserves. Don't get me wrong, he's a dynamic player. If he has a big game, I think that's going to be obviously a huge impact anytime your quarterback can take over from that position, and a guy like him who's a dual threat. But I think the offense of North Carolina is going to be too much for this Texas A&M defense, I think. I think Texas A&M has been able to stop the run effectively, but the pass could be a little bit of a problem, especially with a guy like Sam Howell. So I'm with the Heels on this one, Jake. I think they're averaging, 43 points a game or something crazy like that?
43 points a game, JD, and I know we kind of talked about Cincinnati averaging 467 yards of offense. Well, North Carolina comes in here and blows that out of the water. They're averaging north of 550 yards of offense per game, JD. That is a lot of yards. You better be well conditioned if you're on that Tar Heel football team. Is Sam Howell, JD, the most, I guess, I know he's not underrated, but is he the most, I guess, underrated quarterback in college football, given how productive this offense is?
Yeah, I think he's a guy that really deserves more credit. I think having guys like Ian Book and Trevor Lawrence in your conference this year maybe hurts his shine a little bit, but his time's coming. He's going to be teed up for an enormous junior season next year, and he's in the right place with the way this offense is training right now. Sam Howell, a name that could be mentioned or floated around this time next year when it comes Heisman time, Jake. I really like this kid.
I agree. And as you know, I always like to focus on in these bowl games, JD, head coaches really do matter, especially in a year like this where things are crazy, you're quarantining, nothing is normal. Mac Brown has been to what's going to probably be his 22nd or 3rd bowl game. Wow. He's 14-8 in bowls. He knows how to show up at bowls. He knows how to coach during those 2 or 3 weeks you're off while kids are in finals, and you're showing up to hotels in different cities, especially down in Miami. This is crazy year. I like Mac Brown to get his team ready. We got Texas A&M -7 here, JD. I am going to buy those points, take North Carolina, and I'm going to make this a Jake take. Give me Sam Howell.
Wow.
I'm going to give him my wallet, JD. I'm literally going to mail that guy my wallet down in Miami and say, you know what, Sam, take care of my future expenses for 2021 because they're all on you.
I love it. Hey, safe games equals safe prizes. So I respect the heck out of that, Jake. One more thing I want to say before we jump off onto the next, or maybe close this show out. For North Carolina, their culture, you mentioned it with Mac Brown, a guy who knows how to prepare for bowl games, a guy who knows how to get his team focused and ready to rock and roll and win these bowl games. I'm pretty sure he has a winning record in those 23, 22 bowl games. And then on the flip side of that, Texas A&M, how disappointed are they? How much of a hangover do they have heading into this game? Obviously thinking they were supposed to be in that Final Four. How motivated are they to play in this kind of game? I think that remains to be seen. But Kellen Mond tweeted a few things. All caps, he said, joke, once they were snubbed for the Final Four. So how much of a hangover do they have remains to be seen, but I think that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you for joining us again this bowl season, JD. Are we in agreement here? I didn't get your pick.
Man, it's all heels for me. Tar Heel Blue over here, baby.
All right. Well, we are in agreement. Both Iowa State and North Carolina taking them in the Fiesta and Orange Bowl. Thank you for joining us again in these New Year's Six bowls in 2020. Hope you're staying safe. And thank you for joining us on Washed Up, your mother's favorite sports show. We will be back